call your daddy.
We're back and we're back.
We're back.
Tony McGee,
Come back, y'all.
We're back. Tony
Hey.
McGee.
Come on.
Tony McGee, Pro Football Plus. Tony McGee, Pro Football Plus. Tony McGee, Pro Football Plus. Tony McGee.
Welcome to the off-season edition of Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus. We felt this was interesting and important for us to do this year because this team showed legitimacy that they could be a Super Bowl contender. Now, what I saw with this team, I had to bring in some super eyes. So when I go out to USA Today where I get all my information, and I bring the big Jared Bell in. Welcome to the show, Jay.
Hey, it's good to be back, man. How you doing, Tony?
I don't know, man, but hey, and it's big bringing you back here, but we went back out and got enough money to get Michael Baker back, man. Michael Baker is back on the show. Michael Baker, for all you fans that do not know, this is the young man that gave the idea for us to start this show 41 years ago. Welcome back, Michael.
Thank you, sir.
I think he's real. Thank you, sir. We're glad to have you back there. Well, speaking of glad to be back, Don, as you took a look at this team, as I said in the early time, I forgot my man, John Griffith. He's talking one of the Black 14. He's going to tell a little bit about his story. His story was intriguing to me because isn't if you read up on the Black 14, and what we're doing with the Black 14 now, we say we want to show the positive side of what came out. And this was a man that lost his scholarship, had nowhere to go, but then he ended up being involved as one of the lead officers in an airline company. So he'll get a chance to tell you about that, but let's get to rolling on that. Donna, when you went out there, you heard me say that Donna Hopkins, everybody. Wait, everybody knows Donna better than me anyway. So Donna, when you went out there, I said I saw heat speed. I saw the opportunity for this team to have covered up. They've also cleaned up the places where they need to clean up. What do you see? What was your thought process? And what was the feeling?
Yeah, Tony, when we go back to the NFL draft and we look at what the Commanders had, they only had 5 picks. So they had to be savvy as far as what they were going to do with those 5 picks. I always like when they go offensive line or defensive line, and they got a winner with Josh Connolly from Ole Miss. He can play both guard and tackle, which that helps a lot. And being that Sam Cosby might be out towards the end of the season with that ACL injury last year. And then they got themselves another wide receiver. But let me digress a little bit because they went defense with Trey Amos. He's a big guy that can really play that position. He's going to enhance the secondary. I think this is the strongest that the secondary has been in a long time because you got Marshawn Lattimore and then Mikey Sanders from last year. And then they signed in free agency, Jonathan Jones. So now with Trey Amos, he adds a different twist to that room. I asked Coach Quinn, I said, what does he add to that cornerback room? And he's lengthy. The big cornerback that's going to be able to help that team a lot, Tony. And then they got themselves a linebacker and a running back. So this is going to help a lot. But Tony, let's just go hear from some of the draftees about, getting out there because they went through the drills, no pads or anything doing mini camp. And you well know that you can't assess a lot about them. But I did see the running back position with Coach Anthony Lynn, who was a head coach before coming to the Commanders. And Tony, it is your kind of coach because he was all over them.
Hey, Josh, now that you had a couple of days to go through some of the process, classroom, and then the field, what are the things that you have picked up early on right now?
Really, that you do have to know your stuff and know it fast. So that's the only way you're going to get out there.
So you're out there working with Coach Lynn and everything. What are some key things that early on that you've learned from him?
I just learned what's going to work and what's not going to work in this league. I mean, Coach, he played in the league at the highest level, and I just been soaking up a lot of game from him. And it's just a blessing to have a coach who done did what I'm trying to do. So it's been good.
And it's totally different out here as you go through those drills that you probably have gone through before. But out here, it's almost like, wow, you got to put the classroom to the field really quickly.
Yeah, you got to be elite. I mean, this is the highest level of football, and I mean, you want to do everything right, but at the same time, he's coaching you how to do it. So I mean, it come pretty natural, and I'm just again, I'm happy to have a coach like Coach Land.
And talk about just having this opportunity to play on this level. I mean, this is, I guess, a kid's dream come true.
It's a dream come true. I mean, I'm still soaking it in, just happy to be here, but at the same time, coming in, working every day, knowing you got to put the work in to stay here. So I'm just it's a lot of emotions right now, but I'm ready to take on like the challenges that come my way.
And when you look in this this backfield with Baxis here, Brown, Robinson, Eckler, and all those guys, what are you hoping to bring to that room?
Just to be different. I mean, I'm ready to learn from those guys. I mean, they didn't been in the league for a minute and had success. So I'm just ready to come in and compete.
Hey, Jalen, also, when you look at that class already, the wide receivers are already here. What are you hoping to bring to that room with what you have to offer?
Yeah, man, I want to bring a work ethic every single day, hard work. Get 1% better at something each and every day, and just speed, versatility. Anything I can bring to the table and help us win games is what I want to do.
What was it like putting on the burgundy and gold like your brother wore?
I had to take a moment, take a deep breath when I just looked at the helmet, and I've been just watching the Redskins, Commanders all my life, and just I could have went somewhere else, but I chose here for a reason. And hopefully I get to put it on again and continue forward with them.
Yourself, what did it mean to your family to have this opportunity?
It meant everything. My dad was like, I want you to go to Commanders. I want you to go to Commanders so bad. And so, I really wanted to come here too. And now think about it, I took like a couple days after. That's why I didn't say nothing after the draft. I really just wanted to pray on it, and I think I made the right decision. And then you just see my brother's name, and something I feel like I got to do and to represent him. So best way I can possible to do that.
What would you tell your brother if he was here?
Excuse me?
What would you tell your brother if he was here watching you?
I know you're damn proud of me. I know you're damn proud of me. All the pressure on my back that I don't feel like people think I feel. Like I don't really care, but I like to see the comments. I'm the type of person that thrives on critics. I'd rather be critic than all the positivity because I got to get better.
Even though your brother played here, how important is for people to know what you could do as a player, not so much what Sean did, but for you?
I'm very versatile. I'm not scared to put my head in, and when I'm in the box, I can guard and slot. I can play zone. Whatever I can. Like I said, I'm very versatile. You can go watch the film. It speaks for itself.
All right.
Thanks. Say, coming in, I kind of expect like everybody here, like myself included, like what are the things that you want to work on, and absolutely see if you can take your game to the next space. I loved seeing out on the field last week the communication, how quickly that was coming along. I loved seeing the speed that they were playing with. There was no hesitation, and so that makes sense. You've been in the system for a year for a lot of the players, so they should pick up at a higher pace to get going. So to see other players now joining into that, it's been cool to see. So I would say the execution, the skill set, the standards, those are the things that I envision, not just from the players, but from the coaches as well.
And Tony, I think the great thing about this is that Gabe Teller, the younger brother of Sean Teller, he wasn't drafted. The Commanders ended up bringing him here. He had opportunity to go elsewhere, but for him to be in that house, and I want everybody to know, it's not like the Commanders signed him because of Sean Teller. They think he has talent. And Tony, if you look at the video right now, this guy is fast, along with Trey Amos. These guys are going to help that backfield. So hopefully he'll do enough to make the team, maybe practice, but he could be on the field for special teams.
Well, you never know. I've seen that happen before. And these young players come in, they have speculation that they're not going to get the opportunity, but they get that one shot. And listening to that young man, that's all he wants. He wants that one shot. Jared, as you look around the league, you cover everybody with USA Today, and you got a tremendous reach. What did you see, and what grade would you give the Commanders? Did they reach all the goals they need to? Did they bring in enough speed? Do they need another edge rusher? Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, no, great point. And I think Donna hit on a couple of them right off the bat. With only 5 picks, there's only so much you can do in terms of, adding quantity to what you want. But you go back to last year, and I mentioned that because they had such an impactful rookie class last year that bar has been raised. That standard is there. So we just saw Taylor, Donna mentioned Trey Amos for that secondary. Those two guys. The thing that popped out to me is something I heard from Brad Holmes, the Lions GM, not too long ago. And when you talk about players in the draft, rookies being able to come in, it is difficult. You can't have enough defensive backs. I think that's my bottom line point here. And if they come in as undrafted free agents like Taylor, especially when you only have 5 picks, so you need a couple of those, undrafted guys to make the team. And as has been mentioned, if you can contribute on special teams, great. That could be the way to get onto the field. But the other thing to think about, to Brad Holmes's point, is that you can't have enough depth in the defensive backfield, because when guys go down, somebody else has to come up. And we saw that, speaking of the Lions and the Commanders, they realized what situation the Lions were in when they played them in that playoff game. With so many guys going down on defense, and particularly in the secondary, they just didn't have enough bodies to kind of keep that quality of play up. And so I say all that to say, if Washington can really bolster that defensive backfield with some other people to go with the guys that they have, it's going to be just really beneficial for how that defense can grow. But man, excited about this team.
Yeah, hey, Jared, you should be.
A lot of people are. And when you saw the schedule come out the other day, and Washington has so many prime spots, standalone spots, that the expectations are there. But that's what you want. And if you're going to be good, you're going to have expectations. And so, it's like, I think that was another marker when that schedule came out with all of the national TV games that Washington drew. I think that was just another marker on top of getting a stadium deal, on top of getting the NFL draft coming to Washington, on top of going to the championship game last year.
Keep on going. It's music to my ear. It's music to our ears, Jared. When you talk about all the actions happening in Washington, you have Roger Goodell be here like for 2 weeks, back to back to back to back, because the action is happening here.
So let me ask you this. Excuse me, guys. I had to sneeze because I couldn't believe that they're going back in D.C. Michael, you were the guy with the idea about this show. When you see them going back to
yes,
DC,
sir.
Does that mean a lot to you?
Well, Tony, you and I go back to when, of course, they were in RFK. I think Donna may have joined us right after that. But it means a lot. And I'm not being gratuitous when I say this, but I think if anybody deserves a statue outside that new stadium, it's Muriel Bowser. Not only did she she kept the Wizards in town, she's kept the Caps in town, and now she's getting that stadium built. She's going to somehow muster up $1 million. And of course, the team's going to come up with the other $1 billion, and the team's going to come up with the other $2 billion. Muriel Bowser deserves a statue. And I tell you, and I know if there's anybody on this show that can get an interview with her, I know it's Donna Hopkins, and I want to shoot that interview for you, Donna, because that's going to be a gangbusters interview. But Tony, if I could just take a quick second to talk about the draft overall and what have you. There was a lot of criticism, and I know Jared Bell heard this too, a lot of criticism that Washington had signed a lot of one-year deals. And I thought that wasn't fair. So I went back and I looked at all the other teams. Do you realize that every single team has between 8 and 12 one-year deals on every single squad? So Washington isn't the only one doing those deals. Now, there is one thing that nobody's talked about, and that is the fact that Adam Peters was given a price tag for free agents. Apparently, Josh Harris sat down with him and said, "This is the money you have to spend." And that just was briefly mentioned. Nobody knows what that figure is, but I think that's probably why Washington hasn't gone after someone like Trey Frederickson, who's sitting out there, wants to be traded, and would pretty much put Washington over the top, defensively speaking. But those were just two things I wanted to throw out there. But again, going back to Muriel Bowser, she just has done so much for the district. You got to hand it to her.
Yeah, you do, and you really don't think about it like that. But as you think about it in the right way, this team hasn't really had a strong position in the league for the last 10 or 12 years. They've gone to playoffs, but it's been by somebody else losing or something else. Now, when you look at this team, you see an opportunity for this team to go far. That's what I think everyone's looking for. But it just intrigued me, and I made a mistake because the offensive lineman they got can't run 4.3, but I bet he can run 4 something. I just look at that speed, because speed is what's taking over the league. And they went out and, like I said, 3 or 4 of their first guys down at 4.3. Remember, Darrell Green was the only one running that on this team, and he ran a 4.27. So, what do you think about that speed? You think that they think they're matching with the quarterback? Because he runs 4.3, do he not?
Hey, Tony, you talking about Josh Connolly can't run that 4 something. Let me tell you, if you look at the video up here right now, and as far as his movement through the drills that they were taking place out at minicamp, this guy could really move. He was moving people backwards and everything, that leverage that we talk about in the offensive lineman. So when you look at the Commanders' offensive line right now, you look at last year, they drafted an offensive lineman in Brandon Coleman, as Coach Quinn told me that he should be much better in his second year. The all-star coaching group is what helps these players move forward, because these coaches really coach those guys up, from the coach Anthony Lynn, from the defensive coaches. And I mentioned Coach Anthony Lynn because I watched the running backs a lot in training camp, and he was making sure that they understood it. And you can see this on the screen also, Tony, is that the running backs, when they were going through their drills and so forth. So the offensive line is going to be able to really help that running game that really didn't get going last year. And so when you look at Brown, Robinson, Eckler, and all of those guys, the reason why they drafted another running back is because they had injuries there. And so they want to shore up themselves a lot. So when you look at, the offensive line right now, the way that they have kind of like looked at that, because we said that when you look across the NFL, and Jared could talk about this also, is that if you are good, like the Philadelphia Eagles, who have a strong offensive line, a strong defensive line, and it's in the trenches that they were able to win that Super Bowl because of what they did with their line play on both sides. And then when you look at the Giants up the road too, their defensive line is pretty strong. So the Commanders know that they had to get better on both line plays, and they still don't have that edge rusher. They've got great players, but I still think that they got to get that player that can really get to the quarterback over and over again, where they are double, triple team all the time, that you cannot control them, Tony. So I think that the Commanders are going in the right direction in that schedule that we'll talk about a little later, because when you look at that schedule, it's pretty brutal, and they know that they had to get better. You got better with your quarterback last year, but you had to get better in some other areas.
Well, you got better with your linebacker as well. And you speak of edge rush, I think the linebacker they chose early can edge rush. And I think that's what they're looking at. But one thing you have to be cognizant of, this team got to work together. Excuse me. Getting all choked up. So this team got to work together. And the one thing that they're doing is they're putting the parts together. Last year, when they got rid of all those number 1 draft choices and Chase and everybody just couldn't believe it. But you see what happened in the end. They ended up with the players that wanted to be here. So they added to that this year. And you have an excellent coaching staff. I remember when I was a uniform inspector, when I first met Dan, and he's the same way now, even though he's head coach. He was just a defensive coordinator then. And one thing I look at this whole team as a whole, bringing them back to D.C. puts the cherry on the cake or the pie, or whatever you want. But a simple aspect, if you think about our successful years when we were in DC, and then think about the years we've been at FedEx Field and the eyes that are on us right now, the way they look at us, they haven't been there in a while. That's a big boost within itself. Now, as far as edge rushers, they need to find one out there, Donna. And I tell you what, Mikey, do you know of any being out there? Jared, they need someone that can run maybe a 4-4, 4-5. You need that edge rusher that is always going to be constant pressure. You look at all our teams, we had an edge rusher that everybody was afraid of. And that's what they got to develop now. And Mikey, you look at that, are there people out there like that? And Jerry, you tell me that after I talked to Mike about this wide receiver core.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I'm glad you asked me. You know what's really interesting? They brought in Javon Kinlaw, and of course he, as I recall, it was a #1 pick, and he didn't quite reach fruition as much as people thought he would. But I have this feeling because he's quick, Tony, and he's fast and strong. I would not be surprised if they moved him out of the middle and tried him at edge rusher. I would not be a bit surprised if you saw that.
That's not happening, Mike.
Well,
why you don't think it happened, Donna? Tell me why that couldn't happen.
Yeah, because no, I'm gonna let Mike finish, but I just don't think that it's going to happen because they bought him here, Tony, to play the position right there because he's true in that position. I just think, and then you think about it, they bought like 5 other defensive linemen in here during a free agency. So the edge rush position is the key thing. Now they're going to move different people around, but his true position is why they brought him in here. So I'm just not agreeing with Mike already.
Yeah, I heard Adam Peters talk about it would be surprised. Don't be surprised if you see him play a little outside. But you're right, Donna. They signed Dietrich Wise. He had 34 sacks in 8 seasons. They signed Jacob Martin, a defensive end, 21 sacks in 7 years. Now, these were platoon guys, but they're all guys that are going to contribute. And there are still people that think that somehow Adam Peters is going to work out a deal with the Cincinnati Bengals and bring Frederickson in here. I don't know. But, Tony, we got to take a break.
So.
We've gone 22 minutes of all kind of good stuff. And I know you want to talk to John when we come back. So is it okay if I take you out, buddy?
Yeah, let's roll with it. And I got to get with Big Jared, too. Jared, you got to tell me about these receivers. I think we got a Miami. When we come back, we'll talk about that and more.
People don't know the real story of what happened.
It was an unbelievable series of events and an unbelievable time.
Their championship was taken away from them in 1969. We are living in their championship now.
50-some years later, good is coming from it. They are impacting state after state after state after state.
And we're going to show the world how to love.
Now, sometimes you lose your head and you start asking people on your show questions that you know they have no idea about. It's only one basketball player on here, and I'm sorry, Donnie. I'm gonna tell you, you did a good job.
You can see that I'm not even mentioning that. I'm not even saying a word because we all know the truth.
I tell you what, the Lone Rangers is on his way back. I'm the man. But with that being said, Jared, Speed, Miami, haven't worked well for them the last few years. Now we have speed receivers, plus we have receivers that have been Pro Bowl, and you got a quarterback that everybody seems to think is the next great thing. Do you like our receiving core? What do you like about it, and what do you not like about it?
Yeah, well, I think there's a couple things that you have to like about it. Starting with Scary Terry, right? So he's still there. He's still in place. He's your go-to guy. He's your alpha dog. So, okay, check that box, right? You know, and then you saw Luke McCaffrey last year as a rookie come in and really just show a lot, right? So now you've done that. You've drafted a guy, this kid, 4th rounder, Jalen Lane. He from Virginia Tech, ran like a 4.34. You're talking about speed Tony. There's another guy for you, right? But here's the deal. They brought in a couple veterans, and Deebo Samuel and Michael Gallup. And they're different cases, but the thing that they have in common is that they really need to prove that they can get back to the level that they've been at. And I think Samuel is the real question because he was so special with the 49ers. And, it just didn't work out last year, and he needed a fresh start. The thing about Deebo Samuel that is so enticing, if you will, especially if he can get back to the level that he's been on, is the fact that he is so versatile. So you talked about it a minute ago, Tony, about having speed and having these different pieces. If you put them all together, to complement each other, to balance off each other, then that's when you really have a special group. But Deebo Samuel, in the middle of all that, when we've seen him at his best, he's so versatile. You can put him in the backfield. You're talking about running backs, or you're talking about a slot receiver. You're talking about somebody out wide. You're talking about a guy who could do a lot of different things and can really just make life miserable for opposing defenses. So, I think that's the guy to watch, really, in terms of whether or not this receiver core is going to go to another level. Adam Peters, coming from the 49ers, obviously he has some history with Deebo Samuel, and obviously he believes that there's still more left in the tank. But this is a big prove-it year for Deebo Samuel. But, hey, he's got a quarterback who is just so dynamic, and you just know that he's going to be willing, eager to put his best foot forward.
Hey,
Michael
Jerry,
Gallup,
one player that you left off the list was Noah Brown.
Noah Brown, yeah.
Yeah, he's the big body for them. And, he got hurt at the end of last season. So they're looking for him. They wanted him to be back. So that's another guy that they're looking to really, do some things this year because he was instrumental last year.
Yeah.
How big is he, Diamond?
This guy's like 6'3". Remember the Chicago game that he went up and got the winning touchdown? That's who we're talking about.
Yeah, that's his highlight clip that you can never forget, right?
Never.
But you mentioned him, and I remember he broke in with the Cowboys, right? And I remember watching him his first couple of years in Dallas. He stuck on the team. He was, at the bottom of the totem pole when it came to receivers, but he kept sticking and making it year after year, even though he had minimal roles those first few years with the Cowboys. Well, to really see him blossom over these past couple of years, really, but especially last year before he got hurt, that's been pretty impressive, on his part. And so, yeah, Donna, big receiver who could do a lot in traffic, in the clutch, on a Hail Mary.
We loving it.
Well, Donna, we've looked at all positions. We looked at the defensive line and said they need an edge rusher. We look at the offensive line and we know this big guy got to come through, can play guard or tackle. We looked at the wide receiver. We looked at the quarterback. We looked at the cornerback. We haven't looked at the linebackers, but I think they can survive another year. But what I want to find out, Donna, is there going to be changes on the running back, because that is the one position that started strong last year, ended up a little weak. And if you're going to have the game plan that this team wants to have, which is to run the ball almost as much as you pass, you got to have a good running back and not just one.
Absolutely 100%, Tony. You're talking offense. I can't believe that you're saying that. But we know that the bread and butter of any team.
Wait, now I didn't say nothing about they were that good. Now, come on.
Hey, Tony, we know that the bread and butter of any team, ask Baltimore up there with Derrick Henry that just got a new contract. Ask Saquon Barkley up there in Philadelphia. Talk about the running.
He got to ask his defensive lineman first, because they controlled the game.
Hey, let me just tell you, Tony, the running back position is going to have to be key, because ask those two players that I just mentioned what they did for their team. And the Giants they're trying to get over being dumb, letting go of Saquon Barkley that helped Philadelphia win that Super Bowl. But the key, like you said, Tony, for the Commanders with that running game, you look at and again, I told you that the running game should be better because the offensive line is going to be better. And I think that was sort of the problem last year. But you talk about Brian Robinson that was nicked up last year with a hamstring injury. You talk about Eckler when he was in there, he was tremendous. What he added to that team, but concussion, he's had those off and on. And if you hit somebody that's had a concussion before, you're going to get another one. So they needed to add some depth. And then you got Noah, and then you've got, as far as Chris Rodriguez, who they liked towards the end. He got cut multiple times. They brought him back. And when he got into the game, he made plays. And then they just drafted Merritt that hopefully, who knows how that's going to trickle off. Do they have that home run hitter? I'm not for sure, but they should be much better because that offensive line is going to be better. And they've got to be better because it's going to help Jayden Daniels. They wanted to protect him, first of all, Tony. That's why they beefed up the offensive line so that he wouldn't have to run so much. But that's part of his MO is what he can do with his feet. So I think that they're going to be better with the offensive line and also the running back game, because to me, in order for this offense to move forward this year, the running back position has to move forward too.
Yeah, but they're not in a position right now. I can agree with what you're saying. But Mike, tell me why this offensive line is going to be good. They've only brought in one player right now.
You didn't believe me, huh?
No, I gotta get it. I mean, we're about to put a white jacket.
Hey, Tom, you see how he does?
Some of your stuff is insane. But I get you right, Tyler. I gotta go with that. That offensive line may be the key to the whole team because that ball control, holding that quarterback. Mike, what do you think about the rest of the offensive line? Should they go out and make some big plays?
I think everybody was really very excited about the fact that Brandon Coleman was going to move over to right tackle, and because he had played, he's really a guard, but he had subbed over on the left side and had done pretty well, all things considered. I think he gave up 7 sacks, if my memory serves me correctly, as a platoon left tackle, but he was going to be the right tackle. And then all of a sudden, I think with the first pick, Donna nailed it. They went out and they got one of the best left tackles in the draft, maybe the best left tackle in the draft with Connerly. And now you have Biotish in the middle. You've got Nick Allegretti, who was a bona fide starter as a guard. He's going to be your backup. So you've got all of these pieces that you can plug in. I was just looking at if the Commanders had updated the offensive line chart. They haven't yet, but you've got Chris Paul, who's going to be a backup. I mean, all these guys could have started this year. I think you're right, Tony. And Donna, I think this was the strongest part of the team. And just giving Jayden 2 more seconds. These are all pass rush defenders. Giving him 2 more seconds in every one of those plays. Think of what he's going to do to that secondary.
And y'all forgot to mention one player that they got in free agency that they gave up a lot of their draft picks is Laramie Thompson. Yeah. This is a guy that's going to help anchor that offensive line. And like I said, John Connolly can play both guard and tackle, which helps them a lot with the depth.
Well, if you take a look at it, they have looked at all areas. Now it's time to put this together. And that's one thing that's important. A little later on in the show, we're going to talk about a group to put things together, but I'm going to throw a question out to him right now, John Griffin, one of my college teammates. He's been sitting there quietly. But John, the one formula that I haven't talked about, and we will talk about later on in the show, you and I, you got to have the right coaching staff too. You got
no doubt about it. No doubt about it. And that's why we were so successful in Wyoming.
Exactly. But you know what? I don't know if you could say we were a success because the coach ended up destroying the team.
Well, that's true, but we could say the first 4 games were pretty successful.
Yeah, I think we did pretty good there too. And at the same time, as we get to talking about this, what do you see from your perspective with this Washington team? We talk about it all the time because we in a lot of meet stuff together. What have you seen that you thought that they've become stronger or weaker in?
Well, I think on any team is, you got to have a stout defensive line to be able to put the pressure on the quarterback. And
Say it again.
What's that?
Say it again.
You got to have a stout defensive line, Tony McGee,
There you
to put the
go.
pressure on them. The same thing with the Broncos where I live, man. They drafted a couple of really stout young men who can play that defensive line, and then coupled with the vets. We should see a different defensive line here in Denver, along with the acquisition of some pretty talented offensive people too.
Wait, one thing, you don't mention Denver on our show. Okay? You talk about Denver on another show. But when we come back, we'll be talking to John a little bit about what transpired in leadership back in there. And as we take another break, we start to look at this. It's good for us to do this. Fans, come on and enjoy this. If you're interested in being a part of our crew, then get in touch with us at redbackplus.com. And you may like that. You may want to advertise on the show. But we're doing this because everybody has that void during the off season. We want to keep you up on it. We're going to do shows all the way up to September. So get ready to enjoy it. I don't know how we're going to get that much information in Donna because she's starting kind of late. So we'll work with her, though. We'll be back in a moment.
Hey, it's Michelle Van Allen from Van Allen Real Estate. Listen, let me help you with whatever your real estate needs are, whether it's that commercial deal that you've been thinking about but just aren't sure, or if you're a first-time home buyer, got some really good first-time home buyer programs that I'd like to discuss with you. Or if you're looking to sell your property, let's discuss it. Let's make sure that you are poised in the right position that will benefit you most. I look forward to hearing from you. You can reach out to me at vanallenrealestate.com, VANALLEN realestate.com, or simply pick up the phone and give me a call, 202-642-9116, so we can discuss your real estate needs today.
Now, we've talked about everything. We've talked about the coaches. We've talked about the players. For one, and just for a little information here, we did, and you can ask this young man if this is true, but we had a defensive end on our team that ran 340 for Atlanta Falcons, and he ran a 4.4 and 2.45. I'm not going to tell you his name, but I'm happy, But at the same time, I say that to say that's the kind of edge rushers they got to get. They can put this team together. Putting the team together and making the team successful is two different things. And that's one thing I can say about, even though we were in the University of Wyoming, sometimes take a look at it. And that's why we brought John on. We didn't bring John on because social injustice is all messed up or anything. We want to bring him on so he can tell a little bit about how did it affect him at the University of Wyoming when the coach put him off and told him to go to the black schools if he wanted education, that the people that a lot of us didn't know who our parents were. This is the kind of thing that in the end, you got to be able to put it together. You got to put all of it together. Now, thus far, we look at Washington. They put it together pretty much. But John, as you look at this and you've heard us talk all day today, tell me a little bit about what that was like. That day that you walked over there to talk to the coach, he put you off, he cursed you out, and told you that you didn't know your parents and everything. And you had to go and face parents that really depended on you having a scholarship.
That was a difficult day, Tony. That was the day that my first inclination was, are we going to talk about this? I mean, I'm a kid from California. We generally have conversations, and he wasn't willing to do that. And so as the day progressed, I was thinking, well, what the heck am I going to do? And I found it difficult because I was talking with Don Meadows a little bit later, and I come to find out a couple months ago, or about a year ago, talking to his former wife, that 2 or 3 hours after the incident, we wound up in her room in Whitehall, and you know where that is, Tony.
Mm-hmm.
And when we walked into the room, Anita said to me, "You guys didn't say a word." You just came in, sat down, and you guys looked lost, completely lost. I said, really? She goes, you didn't say a word. And a little, then after maybe a half hour passed, she says, you guys started talking about, and the first thing came out of our mouths wasn't about, are we going to play football? How are we going to get our degrees? We have to figure that out. And for me, I was thinking about it going, oh my God, what are we going to do? And I had a conversation with a coach of mine back in California. Called him up. And the first thing he said to me, he says, I heard about what happened to you. And if you want to come back to LA area or anywhere in California, we're going to find a place for you to land. I said, well, I appreciate that. I haven't made a decision. I'm concerned that the credits won't transfer. And back in those days, you had to sit out a year. And I probably would have never played football again. And then 2 weeks before the Christmas holiday, I called my dad. So I thought, well, I may need to talk to him before I get home. So I called him up. He says, hey, how you doing? I said, I'm all right. He says, are you sure? I said, yeah, Pop, I'm all right. All right. And he's the kind of guy, he's pretty funny. But the brother can get serious in a split second. He got serious on me. He goes, well, what are you going to do? I said, I have no idea, Pop. I got to figure this out. He goes, okay, when are you coming home? I said, well, I'll be home in about 2 weeks. All right, I'll see you then. Click. That was it. So for the most part, I was trying to figure it out, what I was going to do, where I was going to land. And honestly, it took me until February to decide that there's nobody wants me or anybody else. And the notion that was coming from the Black Student Alliance that, Grambling and Southern would want us, they didn't even come calling. So I was stuck out there by myself. Don had Anita, I didn't have anybody. So my calculation at that point in time is I'm going to swallow my pride, get my scholarship back, play football, then I'm done. And that's how
did that cause a problem with other players?
It did, no doubt about it. You and I were tight, and we weren't tight anymore.
Yeah, we've been tight about 20 years.
About 20 good years.
No, I'm still mad. I'm just doing this television with you. No, I'm just playing. Fans, you're probably saying, why are they doing this? This off season, we're going to introduce different aspects of our lives. We're going to introduce food. We're going to introduce what people do in their spare time. We're going to introduce the good times. We're going to introduce the bad times. We want our show this year to be a show that we are living life and we're doing that and letting you guys know what it's about. We don't just have to talk about the Commanders or anything. This Black 14, you look it up, Wyoming. Very interesting. They're about to make a movie about it. They had us talking with the BBC. We've been over with classrooms over overseas, and it's been a very interesting thing. But the real intriguing thing to me is, John, the food that we've given out over the last 4 years, only because of this school that hated us.
That's right.
They have helped us, and the Black 14 have given out, 1.5 million pounds of non-perishable food.
That's right.
That.
Well, it came from the creation of a relationship that Mel Hamilton had with the Gifford Nielsen. And if you know Gifford Nielsen, he's a former All-American quarterback at BYU, and he used to be the vice president of the Mormon Church. And so all of us, and you remember the conversations, we had, what are we going to do? How can we give back? And Mel approached Gifford with the notion of let's give out some food across this country, but we don't know how to do it. Gifford says, well, I know how to do that. He goes, how about giving food to those areas where the members of the Black 14 reside? Thought it was a great idea. And we're looking at fast forward going on 5 years. We've given, like Tony said earlier, we've given away 1.5 million pounds of food. And we have a relationship with BYU that we never thought ever we were going to have that kind of relationship. We're young guys then, we're old guys now. We've decided to share that.
Yourself, old guy, you just need keep me out of that ring with you. Okay? You're the old guy. And Gifford is
I'm the old guy.
He's one
I'm 6 months older.
Right? Gifford is one of the NFL brothers, and I tell you, I want to twine this together because that's an important part of our life. Because on that team right there, we had at least 7 guys that could go pro, and all of it was sacrificed because of one bad day for a coach.
Right.
And it was serious stuff. It was people on buildings with high-powered rifles. We had to get out of the town. Everywhere we go, we were, you almost had to fight your way back. And these were the same people that they loved us just like they loved the Redskins here. But we didn't say no, that they didn't really love us. They just loved the team. And so, that's why this all season, we're going to get in. And John, you can jump into these. I'm going to jump back to the Commanders a little bit, but I wanted you to put something out there. How can people help? We've given that 1 million. We got to keep that food going because the people still hungry. How can they help? How can they help?
Well, you can first and foremost, you can go on our website and take a look at that. It's black14-14.org and take a peek at that. And there are areas that you can click on to donate to our causes. And also you'll get some background of what we're doing. I mean, it was hard as heck, 55 years ago now, Tony?
Yeah.
We had no idea we'd be ending up having a good relationship with BYU and the Mormon Church, giving out 1.5 million pounds worth of food, and working in a space that allows us to communicate favorably with kids, other NFL players, and people within our communities. I mean, I didn't know anything about that 55 years ago, but look at us now.
And next time when you come back, I want the different guys to tell what happened with them in their field of study, what happened to them when the jobs were out there. And for you fans, you don't realize that followed us around, and it still follows around. You're going to have good people with it and bad people. It affected so many lives. But as you look at it, I wanted to throw it in there right then because that's the way teamwork is.
That's exactly right.
Exactly. And that's why I'm starting to look at this Warstead team as being a team. Don, any of you guys have any questions for John before we jump back over here to the team? Mike, you've done a lot on him. And what's been intriguing with you, Mike? And then Jared written on it. I remember when Jared called.
I just wanted to say that, we were out there with you all back in 2019 before the pandemic. And so we have all this footage and we did all these shows, including one out of there where we actually taped all you fellas. And I just thought I was going to throw in, I'll get Paul this week, maybe if it's okay with Donna, to run at least one of the 2-minute pieces that we did out there so that the folks watching each week or each month can have an idea. For those that missed those shows back in 2019. So we have a 2-minute we can roll sometime toward the end of the show to give you an idea of the kinds of things that you all went through and experienced out there. But Tony, we're at 46 now, and we've got to do Donna's schedule. And so do you think it'd be okay if we took a break?
Wait a minute, Mike, you're going to come back here and make Donna think she running stuff. Okay,
Hey, I didn't say a word. Don't put me in.
We're going to have a no, Mike, you just getting back now. We don't want no new personnel change.
No, but the hand that rocks the cradle is the hand that rules the world, Tony.
And John, I want to thank you for that piece. We're going to have many pieces that we're going to bring the Black 14 back on. Not for you to look at them and say, oh, they was wrong. To look at some individuals that persevered through something that was life-changing, and they were 18, 19 years old. And like my father had just died a few months earlier. So, to go home about a year, I had to go and tell my mother that I didn't have a scholarship. I'm going to tell you, it changes your life. But then along the line, you see where teamwork and everything works out together. We're back together as the Black 14. We're not doing anything against nobody. We're helping more people. That makes me feel good with atmosphere. Speaking of that, when we talk about atmosphere, Donna, you were looking at the schedule, and you said that that schedule could be pretty tough, and you was wondering did they improve enough to with the draft to handle that schedule.
Yeah, Tony, but before I go to the schedule, I want to kind of like talk to Jared because, like you said, he covers the whole NFL. So, but let's look at the NFC East right now. Dallas has a new coach. Dak is coming back from an injury. How good are the Cowboys going to be? You look at the Philadelphia Eagles. They just look like they got stronger because they had a good draft. You look at the New York Giants, who has Russell Wilson up there now as the quarterback. Among other players, but their defensive line has gotten better too. So I wouldn't count out the Giants either. But Jared, before we look at the schedule for the Commanders, and I want to get everybody's picks also where you feel that the Commanders will finish at the end of the season. But what do you think as far as the NFC East? Who improved the most there? And how close is the Commanders in what they did to the Philadelphia Eagles? Because I think you got to go through them.
Yeah, no doubt you have to go through Philadelphia, and no doubt they got stronger and are unquestionably the team to beat. But Washington was so close to Philadelphia last year, to get to the championship game that you kind of know that they're in range. Dallas is an X factor because of Dak Prescott. If you think that he can be healthy for the entire year, and sometimes we just don't know. But we've seen the Cowboys collapse a couple of times now when he's had injuries during the season. And so if Dak Prescott is healthy, he's got a new weapon in George Pickens. But, George Pickens didn't work out in Pittsburgh. And if you can't work out in Pittsburgh, because
you can't work out nowhere.
and connect with Mike Tomlin. So that's going to be a challenge for the Cowboys. And so, I don't think there's much question that the target definitely has to be on the Eagles. But here's what I want to say about Washington when we think about where they could end up this season. They've got a much tougher schedule, as you mentioned, Donna, because when you're a playoff team, first place, second place, you get a tougher schedule the next year. And also just on the chance of the rotation that the NFL uses in scheduling, now the NFC East is going to match up against the AFC West, and it's going to match up against the NFC North. And so, they showed they can beat Detroit, right? So now can they do it again? But, you look at the AFC West in particular, where you've got Kansas City and Denver, and you've got the Chargers in that mix. So it will be challenging. But guess what? We're going to see. And we're going to see.
And as you can see, we put up the schedule right there. And Commanders, the NFL was not kind, but one good thing is they know that this Commanders team is a hot team because they gave them 5 primetime games on Monday night, Thursday night, or Sunday night. And they're going to play in Spain also on November the 16th. So they start off, Tony, and everybody can jump in about when you look at this schedule for the Commanders. I mean, they start out with the New York Giants. Then they go to Green Bay. They play the Raiders, at Atlanta, at the Chargers, Chicago, Dallas, Kansas City, back-to-back on the road. Then, like Jared said, you got Seattle, Detroit. You don't know how that team is going to be. Miami in Spain. Then they get that bye, a late bye on week 12. Then they finish up with Denver, Minnesota, the Giants, Philadelphia, Dallas, Philadelphia. They finish off with all the NFC East team. So each and every one of you all, when you look at this schedule for the Commanders, where do you see them finishing in the NFC East with their record, knowing that, like I said, Russell Wilson is up there in New York, so they should be a little better, but you just don't know. But Tony, starting with you, how do you look at this schedule?
If they take a little bit of formula from the Eagles last year, get them a good running back that can sustain and run the way they want to, and the team is just consistent, the new pieces fit their way in. They don't have to be superstars. I'm looking at 11-6. I'm going to give them 6 games to stumble because it's going to be stumbles in Spain or somewhere. You may have it. But I'm going to give them at least 11-6, and that's a lot better than last year when we were talking about 6-11.
And they went a long way. Hey, John, what do you think as far as, looking at, Jayden Daniels? There, everybody is saying, man, will he have the second year jitters? I tell a whole different ball game when you talk about Jayden Daniels. He's not like the average quarterback because his work ethics is off the chain. How do you see this shaping up for the Commanders, and what do you think their record would be this year?
I have to agree with Tony. 11-6, Tony?
Yeah.
I think Jayden Daniels is going to be a heck of a football player second year. The kid's not afraid. The kid's got incredible talent. Those games I just happened to stumble on. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
so
Mike.
I honestly think they're going to be in the mix along with Philly.
I'm not as optimistic as you all. I'd be very happy with 10-7 and a wild card berth. But I will say we're right at 54 now, so we have to say goodbye. But I think this is a nice opportunity, Tony, to tell everybody that we're going to be on every month, buddy.
That's right. We're going to be on it one time a month, and it will be re-aired over and over again for you guys. We're going to add some things in that we didn't have before. Things like we're going to have a gift of the week. We're going to have a player of the week, even though they're not playing. We're going to see if Donna Hopkins can even make a free throw. We got a lot planned.
We already know that's sure money.
Sure, but other people. But one thing about it, we always told you, we never say goodbye. We say in the minute.
In the minute.